All right, this here is a Badger roller mill. We used to have this roller mill set up in the upstairs part of our old cow barn, and we had ground high moisture corn with it that we had in a small Harvestor silo. This has got a 3-horse motor on it. It is a model BN124. When we had it set up, we were feeding this roller mill with a 6-inch auger and ran the corn up into the top of it here, and then the corn just ran out of the bottom, ground up, and it dropped down through the ceiling of the cow barn and into a feed cart. So the rolls are like brand new in it. I did throw a new roller chain on this one side just to kind of get it up off the floor to do this video. I threw some legs on there, but when we were using it a bunch of years ago, we just had it set down on top of the floor in the cow barn, and then there is a grate that goes in the top of it here, and that's got 3 magnetic bars on it to grab any foreign material if it were to enter the top of the roller mill. So I'm just going to plug it in quick. I've got wires coming out of that motor down into a welder cord, and I'm just going to plug it into the outlet so you can get an idea of what it sounds like, what it runs like here. All right, we'll step outside here in a second, and I'll just give you a couple of shots of where the silo is sitting and where the barn used to sit, and then I'll drop a card in up above during that segment. Then that old video is going to be from when we had the cow barn tore down, and that'll give you an idea how close the barn was to the silo and how we got the corn from the silo and whatnot. It's a little hard to see right now. It's because it's kind of getting dark, but it was that Harvestor silo there, and then prior to this new calf barn that's here where you could see the lights illuminating out through the curtains, there was a barn that ran perpendicular with the road here. It was right up next to that silo, and that's where that Badger roller mill was set up, was in the upstairs part of the barn. And I'll put in a card here from when we tore that old barn down. There used to be a cement silo right about there, an old cement silo, and then the cow barn kind of ran in between the 2 silos, and the corn came out of this Harvestor silo, which we don't use anymore, and we processed it through that Badger roller mill. And I would just give you a little history on things here a little bit. Now, we had discontinued using this roller mill a short time after buying our first mixer wagon, which that was in about 1992. And back then, we had fed the cows haylage and corn silage in a raised H-bunk that was in the old freestall barn. We had only had one freestall barn at the time. We could get into that barn with a small tractor and small feeder wagon. It was kind of set up like a self-unloading wagon. It had a raised conveyor on it that you could fill H-bunks with, and just a regular apron chain in it. And we had brought corn silage in from a bunk that we had down in below the barn. So we had corn silage in a bunk. I think we had corn silage maybe in bags back then, and some haylage too, and then haylage in the 2 upright silos, and high moisture corn in the small Harvestor, which that was full kernel, so we had to run that through this roller mill, and then we had ground high moisture corn in 2 cement silos. They were 14 by 40 maybe, and they had old Silomatic unloaders in them, and we had ground the corn on the way into those silos, just like I did with this big silo that we have now. And when we had fed the high moisture corn, we had fed it all by hand. We loaded feed carts, poly feed carts that held about 350 to 400 pounds of high moisture corn, and we had fed high moisture corn while we were milking cows. And the cows got a shovel full of corn from a shovel this size, a scoop shovel, and we had fed their grain and protein mix on top of that while we were milking. So we would use the high moisture corn to get the cows to come in to come into their stalls, and they would usually have that ate up in time before they were done milking, and then we would switch that group out and switch another group in. Our tie stall barn held 48, had 48 stalls in it. There was 25 stalls that ran into part of the barn that had the grinder in it, the part that was perpendicular to the road, and then the part that ran parallel with the road, that had 23 tie stalls in it. And up until we built the parlor, we were milking a little over 250 cows through that 48 cow tie stall barn. And then it was just a very short time after we had started using the mixer wagon, we were starting to use and build bunks, and we were starting to get away from the silos to put haylage and corn silage into, and we kind of transitioned away from them old cement silos, and we had put high moisture corn into the bigger upright silos. Therefore, we didn't need to run the corn out of them smaller silos, and we were able to discontinue using this roller mill. What we would do is when that big harvester, when the corn got down, when that got about empty, we would just transfer the corn from that small harvester into the big one, because that one would feed out faster, and we ran the corn through a hammer mill, which was set up in the harvester room off of that big harvester. It just made things a lot faster. We could feed it out quicker, and for a short time we did use this roller mill. When we had the mixer wagons, we would run the corn into a feed cart, shovel the corn into a bucket on a skid steer or a tractor loader, and then take that out to the bunk and dump it in the mixer. We did that for a year or two, and then you know, like I said, we started transitioning over to putting feed into bunks. So once we started to have bunk space to put the feed into, we didn't have to use the large upright silos for forages. We could use them for high moisture corn, and we were able to get away from them old cement silos there. So we had tore the barn down in 17, I believe it was, and prior to tearing the barn down, we took this roller mill out of the barn. It had been sitting on a pallet here for a couple years now, and I was going to throw it on a scrap metal truck and get rid of it, but we fired up the motor the other day on it. The motor that was on there was junk, so I ripped that off in there. I threw another motor on there. I just wanted to hear it run. The bearings are all good. I threw a new roller chain on underneath this shroud here, and the spring chain tensioner, we had to weld a little eyelet on there. So if anybody is interested in this roller mill, I'll drop my email in the description down below. So if you email me at Farming, Fixing, and Fabricating, we can go over the details on it. I don't even know what the hell the damn thing is worth. I just figured I would throw a quick video together quick on it, and if anybody was interested in it, I'd let it go pretty cheap. Now this thing is probably a good 30 years old or better, and I would assume you'd be able to get parts for them still. There is a company down in Pennsylvania Horning something or other, and they specialize in roller mills and stuff like that that go into choppers and everything like that. So I would imagine they'd be able to get you parts for something like this. I did talk to a gentleman down in Pennsylvania the other day, and he had thought that maybe some Amish or something would be interested in something like this. I don't know what the capacity is. I would say, I don't even want to guess, but the Harvestor silo that we were running corn out of had one of them 4-inch, well, it had a 4-inch sweep arm auger on it. It was an auger unit. It wasn't a Leydig unloader. It was the old style Harvestor auger unloaders. And it had a 6-inch discharge auger on it with a 4-inch sweep. And this grinder would keep up to that with a 3-horse motor. Now maybe if you threw a 5-horse motor on there, you'd be able to run a little bit more corn through it. But I'm just not sure what the capacity. Again, this model number is a BN124. And that's going to about do it for this video, folks. I want to thank you for watching. I just wanted to throw this thing together quick and do a quick video on it. Give you a little bit of history on things that went on here years ago, and see if maybe this isn't something that somebody's interested in. So I want to thank you for watching, folks, and if you like this video, leave me a thumbs up. If you have any comments or whatever, you know what to do. Leave them down below, and we will catch you at the next video, folks.